We are so excited to be here. Last time we were speaking with you, we were talking about some of the progress, the early progress we were making on our eLit promo campaign for the MLA convention in January. Tonight we want to share a little bit of progress as we're really rolling now, but also some key learnings that we have for all of the work that we've been done. If you could go to the next slide, that would be great. I'm going to start by just talking on a high level about project management, and then the teams are going to be talking about the great stuff that they've done, and also, like I said, some of the key learnings. And for all of us, that could be learnings that we then could take to our future projects, whether they're social media or other sorts of digital technology projects. So, project management. I'm not going to get into the tactics. A lot of you have probably been project managers or you're going to work with them. But I really wanted to talk about some of the things that you might want to consider. And the first one is probably going to feel like a big duh. And that big duh is, whenever possible, surround yourself with great people. Sometimes you don't have a choice. And we didn't really have a choice this time. But we ended up with a phenomenal group. What I heard more often from team members is, I have a little bit of extra time. Do you need some help somewhere? Do you know how rare that is? It's so awesome. Another team member, he was at work one Friday, and we got some demands by the client to get stuff all day long, and he was multitasking while he was doing work at the risk of being fired, right, Travis? And another team member, Greg, I won't mention his name either, over Thanksgiving break was willing to come in and redo a video. And those are just a couple of examples of how this team was willing to rally and do whatever it took to get stuff done. So one way of getting a great team and getting people so that they feel empowered to do their best work is really to trust them. When I look at project management, I don't think of managing with a heavy hand. I don't think any of us who've worked for managers with a heavy hand think that it makes us feel empowered. I really see project management as making sure people understand the objectives up front. We didn't, did we? But we made sure we did so that we could get rolling. Once that happens and people are going on with their stuff, I really see project management as going in and removing barriers when there are some, helping to get answers to questions, and then just letting people use their creativity and get stuff done, and that's what these amazing people did. A third thing, certainly you need to plan, set timelines, you need to plan, and then you need to plan on your plans changing because they always do. Sometimes they change because we realize we need to do different stuff, and we did that along the way. And sometimes it's because your client says, we need stuff different, or the objectives change, or all of the above. So plan on stuff changing. Doesn't mean you don't plan, but it means you need to expect that plans are going to change, and expect that when they change, you might need to have stuff done tomorrow, right, Travis? So with that, when the client makes changes, is my fourth learning, or that leads to my fourth learning, and that is the client is always right. It's really easy when you're working on a project to take it really personally. And certainly we've all either been in the position or we're likely to be in the position where we know that some of the things our clients are going to recommend aren't necessarily the best, either from a design standpoint or from a, what's going to be the best deliverable. In this case, our client, Deanie, she did know what was best, so we were lucky. But sometimes they don't, and you can do your best to guide your client, but at the end of the day, they're the client. They're paying the money. So try not to take it too personally. It's really, really hard. But when you do that, you have less stress, fewer backaches, and fewer ulcers. So that's a really good thing. That's what I have for project management. I could go on all night, but I won't. I'm going to turn this over now to Marzi, and she's going to talk about process and organization.
Kathleen is one of our project managers. I am the other one. My job is more of keeping track of our process, making sure things were organized so everyone could communicate, and we could really be on top of everything that we needed to do. Just going through really quickly with how our process evolved. The first week was just brainstorming. What is the project? What do we need to do? How are we going to accomplish this? From that point, we were able to build objectives, which were build awareness. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Generate interest and drive traffic. And with that, we created a timeline of when we wanted our deliverables. When did we want the sites, social sites, to go live? when did we want our videos published, that sort of thing. And then we just started building content, working on our research, and we used a great resource for us was Google Docs. Each team, we had a video team, a GMap team, all of our social media sites, a research team. Each team had a Google Doc in which it was organized into basically 3 components. One was team members and their content or their contact information and their roles. The second one was their deliverables, whether that was what our content is, when it's posting, who wrote it, and when actually we do post it. Or it was maybe the research that was generated for everybody else to use, which the research team was great at that. They found out what we all needed and they collected the research necessary, and we were able to go into their Google Doc and get what we needed to build our materials. And then the last section of those Google Docs was communication for the team members. And they could post and repost to each other to be able to stay on top of where they were in the process, how they needed help, and people could give that help to them. I think that this, along with the email and the communication that we had, communication was just huge. But the organization made a huge difference in our success. I think that if we didn't have those tools, that there's no way that we would have been able to stay on top of everything we did, because we had a huge project and it had a gigantic scope. So if you can be organized from the beginning, you have your timeline, you have your objectives, and you have a way that is efficient to communicate and post your content to one another, then you'll be successful. Traps is up.
Okay, so I get 5 minutes to explain the 3 social media, because apparently I talk too much. So I got it quick down. So the main one, I think, was the Facebook page. And one of the things we did was build a fan page. And that Tuesday when we had to rebuild it, we actually rebuilt it 3 times. And the neat thing about the fan page was our mini site. This is actually a fan gate where it's just an image, and if you're not a fan, they see the image. Once they click the like, it loads up our mini site. And the mini site was just a website that we simply built. This is actually the website outside of Facebook. So all that is that's just a mini site we then tucked inside of the Facebook frame. And we did this so we can keep the content updated with the different profiles. We can update the welcome, we can update the eLit, and there's even to the GMap. And so that gives us some more tabs inside of Facebook to work with rather than just the tabs here on the left-hand side. So that's kind of just the gist of Facebook. What's the next one we got to do?
Next one is...
Okay, so the Google Plus, this was late in the game to us because they didn't allow the fan page. And there's so much more room in Google Plus. So all we did, we took the same logo, did a quick couple screenshots from the social media little pages that we saw, and then pretty much just duplicating the content. So it works a lot like Facebook. It's a little more visual. Things actually load easier here than on Facebook. The only hard part about Google Plus is you can't go to somebody and follow them when you're in your profile. Or you have, because when you're in your actual fan page, they have to discover your fan page in order to follow you. So that's why we only have maybe 3, I thought we had 4, maybe 3 followers there. Because they have to discover us. And since we were so late in the game, Google Plus, we really hadn't had the time to push people there to that outlet. So our next one was Twitter. And I think Twitter was the one we had the most success with. Twitter, all we did is just go in, build the typical background, just kind of that sits behind, anybody can build the background. We just stuck the logo in there. And then what we did is I set up Buffer App. And it's just bufferapp.com. And it allows you to preload tweets. And you can set up times a day for when the tweets will go out. And they give you 8 to 10 little slots. And so we could preload up to about a day of tweets. And later on, when you see our analytics, you'll see that we're able to find the best times to shove the tweets out. And we found putting the @MLA in our tweets would then go out to @MLA and list out on their wall. And on one time, it was retweeted to 1,500 people. So we really think this was probably the more successful of the three going out, and it was probably the easiest of them to set up. There's no real page to set up. You just stick a background in, a logo, and you're pretty much good to go. And I think next we're going to have the GMap team.
So we did the GMap, and it's kind of busy. Our whole goal to this was it to be a main page of information, so anyone who is interested in going to the MLA convention can go here and find anything they need that might relate to it. So we, at the top over on the, I'll go over here. Up here is what electronic literature is, and I was trying to put in keywords so when people do a search, hopefully this would pop up so we would get more clicks on this page. That was kind of one of our goals was getting more people to click on this so they could see the information and hopefully look. And then if you scroll down, we did how to use this map. So if you click on that, then you can learn how to use it. Here we have a legend, so that explains what each of the icons are. So for instance, we've got, these should be animated, they're running men, so it's for gyms. And then we've got hotels, happy hour, places to go like Pike's Market, the library, and of course the convention is over here, so it's hidden. And then also we have, if you zoom out of the map, can you zoom over here? And if you zoom out more to the world so you can see the whole world.
More?
Yeah, keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. There you go. So if you these here are where the featured artists where they're coming from. So we wanted to show everyone that this is a global thing, that this isn't just Seattle, works coming from Seattle, it's coming from all over the world. And if you can scroll down on the right, or the legend side, so you can keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, so stop. So these are all of the works that are going to be featured at the electronic exhibit. So you can click on it and you can learn more about it. You can watch it. You can get more informed about it. So you're not in the dark when you go. Yeah, and is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, one thing that we found in Google Maps is that you could use your own icons.
You can create your own icons. Yeah.
As long as they stay in the same place, as long as the Google map is in use, because it goes out on the internet and comes back. And there's 157 entries on this GMap, which is why it looks a little busy. And if you could see on there, there's 1,892 views so far. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, now it's 98.
And the way we've gotten this GMap information out is through our social media sites and also just through, browser queries from people who are looking for MLA information.
So over in Europe, those artists are coming from that area to the convention?
Well, we're not sure if they're actually coming, but their works are going to be featured.
Oh, wow.
And that's where they reside.
So it's not just in the U.S., it's everywhere?
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next is video.
All right, so. Huh? Oh, well, yeah. Go ahead. Just turn the volume down. Okay, so for the video team, our objectives were to raise awareness a little bit about what was going on, which is the main point of our promo video, and also a little bit to educate. In our promo video, we gave a brief overview sort of what eLit was and how it's transforming and kind of like going all over the world, and that it's a big new thing, and it's going to be featured here in Seattle. And so originally our plan was to have a mini promo, a promo, and then a mashup of artist interviews, and I think there was one more video too. Oh, an education in eLit, just kind of like a tutorial how to use it and what it is. But as we got farther and farther, we realized that was a lot on our plates, and it wasn't all necessary. We didn't need it all. So it got cut down to just doing one promo, and then the mashup of interviews from, or responses from authors, and we emailed them questions, and we had a couple responses back, and then that changed when Alan Bigelow sent us his response back, and he did it for us, and he had, paper and the questions and his points, and he was walking through his house, and we're like, we're not gonna, mash this up and edit this. It's great. So that changed to now we're gonna do a mini video for each author. And so kind of as Kathleen said in the beginning, it was client is always right. We changed throughout. The objectives changed a little bit because Deanie pointed out that we weren't really fit to educate on eLit because we're not experts on it, and that the script changed a little bit because of stuff. Katie will talk about that later. So yeah, this is our promo without sound. So I'll let Katie talk about the script writing and that process.
Okay, yes. So I wrote the scripts. I went through 3 revisions of scripts, and mostly the content changed because of Deanie, like everyone's been talking about. In the first draft, we expressed eLit as an evolution of traditional literature because we were trying to attract MLA members who have a history in traditional lit, but Deanie kind of punched holes through that. So the next attempt was eLit as an interactive manifestation of traditional literature, which is a little better, but at this point she was pointing out a bunch of problems with the script, and it was a little too long, and so we had an interview with her, which was pretty transformative, I think. She talked about eLit as born of experimentation from traditional authors, not as any kind of outcropping of traditional literature. So that is the final version of the script described eLit as that, experimentation. And it has similar immersive power of traditional literature, but exemplified by digital affordances. When I was figuring out what I was going to say tonight, I kind of realized that the evolution of the script represents our evolution of like what eLit really is, because as everybody's been talking about, when we first started off, it was super, well, not unorganized, but we were struggling to organize something that we didn't really grasp yet. So I feel like with like the third and final script, everything else was starting to come together too. Another thing that is important that I learned, because I'm kind of wordy, is with social media and technology, it's really important to get your points across kind of quickly because people will lose attention. So an adjustment of style was one thing that came up with this too. And now Greg will talk about editing, which is awesome for doing. Get on it, Greg.
All right, so I'm Greg. I was in charge of the video editing. It's a very interesting process for me because I've never just been an editor before. Whenever I make videos, I'm usually the director, the writer, the everything. So this was a really unique experience for me. I'm not going to go into how I edited it. I used Final Cut Pro, but either you know it or you don't. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to that process, you have the skills, you take everything, you put it in, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. The point of the point of this process that I found interesting is that since I was just an editor, it was bringing everything together that other people had given to us, like you said, that all of these revisions had to be done. We had to be flexible all the time. We got talent from everywhere. People who weren't even a part of the video team, like Zack over here, helped us with sound. Like I don't know how to do sound, so when we went to go do the narration, with Kathleen's voice. I had no idea what I was doing. Vern helped out. He wasn't a part of the video team either. So we got both of these experts. It was really interesting because we've been reading about this in Now You See It. How a workplace is very efficient if people who have the skills help out using those skills. And so it was a really unique experience for me because I had never seen that before. Whenever I had to do something, it was just, I learn it, I do it. But here, I think it was a lot more efficient to do it that way. And it was so unique to see all of this talent, all these different people just coming together doing things. Katie writing a script, Madi's overseeing us, planning things out, Kyle making the intro and the exit for us, just everything. It was incredible, and I look forward to doing it again. I think that's how all editing should be. Personally.
Yeah, this is the only group project that hasn't made me want to pull my hair out. It's been great.
It's nice, isn't it?
It is, it's kind of crazy.
I believe that's the fun.
So we were basically just following Facebook and Twitter because we didn't have Google Plus up going on. I think there is a metrics.
Not yet.
Okay, so this is what we were getting every week. Travis would receive this and forward it to me. It was kind of just a real brief overview of how many people are, looking at it from this week compared to last week. Do you want to go to the next one? This was another one. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Tweeted. Yeah. And it was just kind of showing you, I just kind of put them all together, just like with the weekend and then certain days of the week, like what time people are viewing our tweets, excuse me. And then the next one. And this is something that we did utilize. This was Buffer app, and utilizing it meaning that we took the information that we were getting and we changed our behavior. We were noticing that over 2 weeks, during the week, for example, about 56 to 60 people were receiving these tweets. But then on 2 consecutive weekends, it jumped up to quite a few, 1,600. And then it was also retweeted once. And so since we knew that we were only having about 56, 60, it's like, where was this jump coming from? So when I looked into it, it was the MLA folks. So what we did this last weekend was just change the time that we were putting out our tweets, and also hoping that for whoever was retweeting it would see that and then maybe retweet those as well.
So now our job is, from now until the convention in January, is that we have to maintain all this. And this is our last week of the term, pretty much. So what we have done is created leads for each of our social sites, and they are in charge of continuing to repost and upload material. If there's problems, then they need to reach out to people using the contact information we have on those docs and say, I need this content. Can you please send it to me? And then they make sure that it gets up there at the right time. I think that what has been most beneficial about this exercise is just really, I think that people make all the difference. We have been very fortunate that people jumped and said, I will do this because that's where my skills are. And people just plugged in and engaged, and we would be working 3 hours straight without taking breaks because we were just having such a fun time working together, and it just all meshed so well. And where one team was lacking, somebody else would jump over and say, hey, I can help do that. And so that just, it was a pleasure. And all of us, our roles were constantly changing, including even our management roles, and what we were overseeing and what we were doing. But we were all able to collaborate and work with each other, and it was a great experience.
So tagging on to that, and also to what Greg said, like Kathy Davidson said, attitude is everything, and this team has attitude. So that's it. Thank you guys very much.